GM. GM. Got a really good question from a captain, and I think it was through a student. What do you do if you run out of creativity and you don't have any new ideas? So you're trying to think of ideas for systems, trying to think of ideas for setups, strategies, or just about the market itself, because it's very true, and I've been there and we've all been there. There's times where you look at this market every day and you trade it and you do analysis and you build systems and you wait and you set up, and you can get sort of fatigued by almost overanalyzing, or just by analyzing every day. You feel like you've exhausted all possible avenues and there's nothing else that you could possibly do, which of course isn't true, but it's easy to get that way and feel like that. So what do you do when you run out of ideas? I brute force it. Like a lot of things in life, it can be solved by brute force. Now, how do you exactly brute force it? One of the things I found, and I actually learned this not in the markets, but in other areas in sales, or if I was looking at, when I used to work in sales, and then there was also an element of marketing. If you're trying to think of an idea of how to sell something better, if you're trying to think of an idea of how to advertise, or a marketing concept, how to persuade better, I always found that I got my best ideas by doing something. So I would be in the middle of a sales call and I would just say something that I'd never said before that flowed really well with my process. I just thought, holy shit, that's a really good idea, and I would note it down, and then I would go and expand on it later. Or when I was helping with marketing of the company, we would be looking at like ways to advertise and headlines or catchy things or banners or hooks or any of these things for how to make emails more attractive, how to make online ads more attractive, how to make the copy more compelling. And as you do it, I would write an ad and then I would think of something as I was writing it. I would go in with a plan to do one style, and then I would get an idea for another style and I would note it down. I wouldn't implement it. I would still do the first style. So actually, I never feel like I run out of ideas in trading. In fact, I've got fucking far too many ideas. I think I've talked about this in the past, but if I go to my notes app, which I'm doing right now, and I look at my systems to test, I have EMA bands cross, VWAP fades, breakout trading, mean reversion, sentiment system, bull market specific, volume, liquidity and size, technical levels, breakout retest, shorting stuff that's up 3 days in a row, panic dip buying, so when people panic, buy the dip, figure out a system for that, clearing events, bad news, good news, alts, which are more driven by spot versus futures, which alts are best to scalp in size, Mondays are the best day to fade, question mark, how far does a move in a fair value gap lead to before filling, how to spot TWAP on OI and CVD, on balance volume, adding it to a divergence matrix, backtesting token unlocks, OBV for spot and perps, order flow liquidation tracking, retests of another type, and so on. That's about a quarter of the sheet, of the note. And those are all system ideas that I still haven't got around to testing. So there's an endless amount. But if you feel like you've ran out of creativity, here's what you do. Do a lot of backtesting, like replay trading. I want you to load up the chart. You don't even have to go in with the idea to do backtesting. You don't have to come up with rules, because that's the problem, right? The problem is you can't come up with rules. You can't come up with an entry, stop loss, take profit. So just open up the chart and just say, I'm going to go on a 4-hour chart and I'm going to play it. And I'm going to watch. Maybe you put on the bands, the 1221, and you put on a 50, 100, a 200 or whatever. Maybe you put on RSI. Put all those things on and just let it play. Go back 5 or 6 years on Bitcoin and let it play slowly and just observe it. And start to look for little patterns. Like, do you notice something about when it gets to the 50 EMA? Whenever price pulls back in an uptrend to the 50, what happens when it first touches it? And in my mind right away, I'm like, okay, does the first touch actually hold? Or does it touch once, bounce briefly, then sweep, then go? Which would be a clear sign of a liquidity trap. It touches the 50, it bounces, people go long, and then it sweeps out their stops and continues higher. Just anything. I guarantee you, if you just open up the charts, replay mode, run through it, and just watch it, and do analysis on the chart. Go back to 2018, 2019 on a random coin or Bitcoin and chart it as you go. Mark out your daily support levels. Mark out your structure levels. Right? Mark out your order blocks. And then try and predict what price is going to do. Right? Because you do this every day. When you wake up and you see the chart in 2024 and you do your daily analysis live, you're trying to do all that. You're like, there's an order block, there's a liquidity level, there's a moving average. And you're trying to say, well, if it goes here, if then, do the same thing. Draw your paths and see how price moves. And then think, why did it move that way? And then think, was there any pattern behind that? And then think, what could I do to test that? And anything at all, any little thing that pops into your head, write it down. Don't stop. Keep doing your replay trading. Don't stop, but write it down. Notes, 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 notes. Then you should very easily build up a bank of 5 or 10 ideas and then figure out a strategy for how to test them. Right, so if you want to test a moving average crossover, then you have to put your moving averages on, wait for them to crossover, take an entry, find an invalidation and a TP, and backtest it 100 times. Boom. And it'll get you back into the flow of it. There is no lack of creativity. You have no lack of creativity. There are no shortage of systems to test. A lot of times it's just start doing something and then note down the things that pop into your head.